Pyre Flood. Hello everybody, it's the Warhipster here, coming at you with another Sprue review video. We're just sticking with that as the title. And this is our boxed games bonanza. Yep, we're looking at the skirmishes of both Age of Sigmar and the 41st Millennium in the form of Kill Team Nightmare and Pyre Flood. Yes, Games Workshop have been incredibly kind and have sent both of these boxes to me to build up and paint for all of you and to show you what's inside the boxes. And let me tell you now, they're both pretty cool. Now I'm just going to nip this in the bud right now. The end of the video, usually I tell you if I've painted anything. I haven't. I just haven't. Because it's currently 5:10 on Saturday, the 6th of April. And I've just finished building it. Yes, silly old me decided to take things a little bit easier this week. I've been feeling a little bit discombobulated. So I decided to not just hammer away at getting stuff done, but I wanted to get this video done for you today to appease the algorithm, but also to show you what's in these cool boxes. So no, I haven't painted the contents of Pyre Flood or Nightmare yet. However, this is a great chance for you to get involved and tell me down in the comments which one you would like to see, whether it's the Night Lords, the Mandrakes, the Generatorum Hub from Kill Team Nightmare, or the Night Haunt, the what are they called? Lumineth, or the Idol of the Old Ones from Pyre Flood. Comment below, tell me which one you want to see first, and that's the one I'll start painting tomorrow for a painting tutorial later this week. Because yes, I'll try my hardest to get all of this done, so there'll be videos for all of it coming very, very soon. And I should also say, before I even started on these, I thought I had my mind made up as to which one was my favourite, but I was surprised. And that means you probably already know which one I thought was my favourite and also which one might have replaced it as my favourite. But please stick around and watch the rest of the video. I've had a really, really long week. So without further ado, let's jump into Kill Team Nightmare and Warcry, Pyre Flood, the Sprue review. Box set bonanza. Have to get the ridiculous title in there somewhere. Oh, and also, don't forget to like and subscribe. Do all that good stuff. I am a YouTuber, I promise. Okay, so here we have it then. We have Pyre and Flood. There it is. And the much more thick Kill Team Nightmare. Look at it. Oh, that is a very, very, very thick box. There it is. Kill Team Nightmare in all its glory. So we have both of the boxes, and I think we're going to start with Warcry, Pyre Flood because it's the one I've been most excited for, and it's got the silliest name. I don't know why it's so silly to me. It just is to my mind. But, you know, I like it. For some strange reason. Anyway, we're going to open up this box and we're going to have a look at the contents. But as you can see here on the back, first and foremost, what you do get inside is you get the Yggdrasil River Blades. There's a Pure Flood Seneschal, I believe is what that's called. Yes, we have the Idol of the Old Ones. So this is part of this unit because you can see there's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 Crest Dancers and Stream Runners. Okay, so there's 2 different types of models in here, which is interesting. I hadn't figured that out, but it's the same for the Night Haunt guys. But before we get to them, we have the Idol of the Old Ones, and we have the Pyre Geists, Torch Wraiths, Balefire Guard, Flame Wraiths, and the Deacon of Flames. There's a lot of cool stuff going on in this box. 18 Citadel miniatures in total. So, let's get this box open. Is it a tray? It is a tray. Also, that box art is just lovely. So, we actually... Oh, that's new. I don't think I've seen that before. A little kind of half-size Warhammer logo, which is cool. Well, it's not an art insert. I miss the art inserts. I like the art inserts. So, here we have our tray, and, well, first up, we have a Lumineth sprue. Yeah, just one sprue for the Lumineth by the looks of things. It's double-sized sprue. That's cool. We have our Nighthaunt. Here they are. These are not push fit. I should just point out. A lot of the Nighthaunt stuff is push fit, but these are not. So there we go. There you have it. There's one sprue for the Nighthaunt, and then we have one sprue for the idol of the old ones. There it is. It looks massive. Look at that. It's huge. Got a bag of bases. There looks to be various sizes in there. Probably 32 mils. There's a 40 mil base there just as well. And 28 is probably the smallest pack that we have there. We have Pyre Flood card pack. I'm guessing for playing actual Warcry. Little card aids. We have ourselves our instruction manual, which is good. Let's just confirm those base sizes. 40mm, 32mm and 28mm bases. Marvellous. My eyes do not deceive me. And then we have a quite difficult to extract book in the form of Pyre and Flood. And there it is. All of the good stuff. Lots of good stuff. Lovely. Marvellous. So, all of this looks nice and cool. So, I guess we should get on with building some models, shouldn't we? We'll go in the order of what the instruction manual is, but before we do that, I need to sit down and rearrange the desk. So we'll be back in just a sec. Okay, so kicking things off then, let's have a look. We have our inside of our instruction manual, of course, as per usual. So all the kind of typical things you would expect to see inside a Games Workshop instruction manual. We have our kind of demonstrations of what each of the sprues are, with their A, B and C. We have the list of what bases we have, and it's a little bit interesting in here because we have 1 40mm, 9 32mm and 8 28mm bases, which I don't fully understand, but I'm sure we will come to understand it shortly. We have our use correct bases, but we have our little diagram, which, you know, as I'm a big fan of that, it means you can just make sure that you're selecting the right base by using the diagram, and you're not accidentally using like a 32 for a 28 or the 40mm on like a 32mm. So it's good. I like this. I always enjoy this. We have the explanation of what the key is. So blue or green, these are your various options, and this tells me that there's options for our big Nighthaunt character-y dude. And then we have explanation of symbols down here, the special instruction, take care, variant assembly, choice of parts, and stage complete, which is great. So who's first? Nighthaunt. Interesting. So the first units that we're going to be working on are the Pyregeists, and I'm interested in this one because when you're looking at the back of the box, like I said, it's a little bit disarming at first because there's more than one unit in here. It's almost like there's like a taster of things to come for entire army ranges. Don't quote me on that. But what we have, for example, is we have the Deacon of Flames. He sounds like a character to me rather than just a champion, which is interesting. We have the Balefire Guard here and here. And then we have our Flame Wraiths here and here. And then we have our Torch Wraiths over here, which are these three lovely looking individuals with the green flames. And then we go on to the Idrilan Rivulet Blades. But before we get to them, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 pages for the Nighthaunt. And of course, well, we're going to do all of it because it's all on one singular sprue. So we will be looking at the Deacon of Flames, the Balefire Guard, the Torch Wraiths, and the Flame Wraiths with Balefire Torches or Brazier Staffs. There's a lot of different stuff going on in here. So we have Balefire Torches or Brazier Staffs here and here for both of the Flame Wraiths. The Balefire Guard can have a Scorch Flail, Flaming Halberd, on either or, so you could probably mix and match or go for the same weapon on both. The Deacon at Flames has either the Pyre Keeper's Tongs or the Brazier Staff. There is a lot going on here. The Torch Wraiths are as they are. They don't seem to have any different options here, as denoted by the fact there aren't any green bits. But they look to be fairly simple, and I caveat that by them being Nighthaunt, which are invariably quite a tough faction to make simple to build and paint because of all the floaty ghosty stuff, but they don't look too bad. For example, this Flame Wraith with Brazier Staff up here, component 21, 22, then a choice of 25 or 24 and 23, and then you're done, which is encouraging. It's cool. I like it. This is almost like warrants buying multiple sets of this in some ways, just so you can have all the different options and different stuff in it. Anyway, we'll get to that later on, I'm sure. There's lots of cool stuff to look at in here, but now we have a cool sprue to look at. So I'm going to pop the instruction manual to one side, just there, and then it will probably topple over or open out halfway through the take, as is usually what it likes to do. So what we will require for this is this one sprue, and I didn't actually check what bases we need, so we need to do that as well. So we are going to need, and this is where things might start to make sense, we're going to need the 40mm base for the Deacon of Flames. So I'm going to open up the bag of bases now and pull out the 40. So there's our 40mm base. Recognize that one from a mile away. And then we need some 32mm bases. The easiest way to compare these is they're the middle-sized ones. So if you fit in each other, they're not 32s. So that's the 32mm base. We can also check on our little diagram here. Yep, that's a 32. Then anything that matches up with this size is 32 when you put it that way round. So we will require the 40mm for the Deacon of Flames, 32mm for the Balefire Guard, 32mm for the other Balefire Guard. For the Flame Wraiths, we will require a 32mm and another 32mm for the other Flame Wraith. But then for the Torch Wraiths, we will require 3 28mm, which should be these ones. Yep. So 3 of those, 1, 2, and 3, giving us many miniatures. 4 32s, 3 28s, and 1 40, which will leave us with an amount of 5 32mm and well, how many 28s? I would guess 5. Yeah, 5 28s. There we go. We got there in the end. We sorted the bases out. So let's have a look, shall we, at the sprue. Here it is. So as you know, with these things, I generally like to just snap them in half so I can do half and half at different times. There we go. So we can just pull this one sprue up and we can have a look at this one on its own. So without being able to recognize any of these components, we just have to judge them based on their merits by themselves, because I'm not completely au fait with all of the Nighthaunt components in this box, because a lot of it is all ghosty stuff. So one of the things I've often found with Nighthaunt is it's very easy to accidentally leave flash on the models. And what I mean by flash is when you clip it, you can sometimes end up with that kind of, you know, like that residue from the injection point or the connection point. So one thing you have to be really careful of with Nighthaunt is making sure that you are traveling around the components as you're smoothing them down, like this, in the plane at which they were put on the sprue. So you can see how this one is flat like this. When you're trying to smooth it down and search for any sprue debris or whatever, you need to look at it like this, in this orientation, because it's very easy to miss these things, especially within all of the tendrils and things. Now, what we're looking for with these Nighthaunt components is for there to be minimal amount of connection points. So over here, starting with this component, it's pretty good because we only have the 3. Again, it's always going to be a criticism of Nighthaunt because it's always going to be on the flowy ghosty robes. So Essentially, the feedback is always going to be really careful with your knives or mold line removers, so as you're not gouging things too much or applying too much pressure, because you really don't want to kind of cut too much of a chunk out of a flowy robe, especially when the robes and things will line up like this, and there will be like lines and things. So if you end up kind of putting too much pressure when you're trying to smooth things down, you end up with that kind of bobble effect like that, which you just want to avoid. It's like when you, like, if for example this one and this one go together, you might see that there'll be like a seam down here. If you have a connection point here and here, then you just have to be really careful with those. Anything that's up against an edge in Nighthaunt, just be really careful. So this component's okay. This head just here is a little bit spindly, so you will have to be careful with that one. And the connection point is right on the top of the helmet, so that was a nice obvious detail to have to try and be very careful with. Just, you know, for example, that one there, just have a care. This one, similar deal. This one, similar deal. We have connection points all over the flowy ghost robes, and we have a really difficult to clip out one just here on component 38, I want to call that. So it's going to be probably easier to just clip it sort of round about there, and then come in and get at it from a different angle. You'll just find it make life a little bit easier. Connection points, again, 1, 2, and 3. This is a really big, thick one. That's what, again, this is the type of thing you don't want to see on these Nighthaunt kits. You want it to be really subtle, elegant connection points, kind of like this one. This one's quite nice. When it's quite thick like this across a large edge of a component, that can become a bit of a difficult scenario to get used to, as it were. So again, just try and cut it like up here and then deal with it off sprue rather than trying to do it from the sprue straight away, because it'll just be a little bit easier for you. When it comes to things like the staffs and stuff, they seem pretty sturdy. These ones seem pretty sturdy. However, I would just recommend clipping it here, then here, then here, then here, in order just to get that one out, because you know you don't want to accidentally sort of kind of snap the component as you're trying to remove it, because these arms can sometimes have a lot of pressure put on them at the wrists, so you just want to be really careful with those. Also, anything that's got chains on it, it might look sturdy, but just be careful. Don't kind of be just support it with your finger like this as you're clipping it. You don't have to hold it really tough. You don't have to like kind of really kind of secure it with your fingers. You just need to just kind of brace it like that so that it's not moving too much when you're applying the clips, because sometimes within those chain links in between chains and things like that, it can just snap and you might not be expecting it to. Like I said, it can look really sturdy, and that one does, but you just want to support it as you're clipping it out. Same feedback for all the rest of these bodies though. It's just slightly difficult to clip points, and just watch out for them, right? So like this one, for example, that one's okay, but like right in here, that one's going to be slightly tricky because of how close it is to the, I guess, the hunched back of this model. So just, again, if you need to, just clip things like far away, just there, because then you can just come at this from a different angle rather than trying to do it like this, trying to clip in it like this. You don't want to restrict your vision as you're trying to get these components off the sprue, so just be really careful around that. So the other sprue, I suspect it's all going to be exactly the same as we've already talked about, and the answer is years. We have things like the I've already forgotten his name, the Flamey Baron thing. We have his kind of stocks and stuff. This is really cool. It's a really nice kind of solid piece right there, but we do have connection points on just slightly spindly areas like the top of that little hook, like kind of spike, so just watch out for that. This halberd looks delicious, so it's definitely going to be used, as does this one. Oh, they both look delicious. I'm into it. I like halberds. I'm a big fan. We have flamey heads. Again, just be really careful around this, because it's really easy to kind of accidentally shear off areas of detail with your clippers as you're trying to get into these kind of slightly fiddly areas. If you've got like a pair of like really kind of tiny precision clippers, you'll find this a lot easier than anyone who's got slightly bigger clippers like the Citadel clippers that I'll be using. I don't have any like kind of really tiny precision nips, so that's why I'm kind of going for the, you know, like the kind of little the recommendation that if you've got an area that's difficult to get to, just, you know, somewhere like that and just clip it off. This isn't a difficult area to get to, but you'll be okay. Anyway, It's a pretty good sprue, and overall there's loads of detail here. There's loads of really cool stuff on both of these. But as all of what I mentioned on that first sprue, it's all present here on this one. You do have some excellent pieces though, like this. This just looks absolutely fantastic. So just watch out. Same feedback. Just be careful. Manage each clip point as you see fit. Watch for any congestion on the sprue, and if you need to, clip it a little bit further away, somewhere like that, just so you can get at it from a different angle. So we're going to build up the pyre of Pyre and Flood. I'm going to see how long it takes to do in total, because we've got like 3 or 4 different types of things going on here. So that's cool. So we'll be back in just a second with a time lapse. So all of our ghosts are now built, as you can see, and they look fantastic. So we've got all 4 of the different variants of ghosts in here. So we have our, of course, I'm going to refer to this because I can't remember any of the names. The Deacon of Flames, the Balefire Guard, the Flame Wraiths, and the Torch Wraiths. So they're all built, as you can see. They were pretty quick and pretty simple to do, actually, which surprised me for Nighthaunt. However, it is time to move on, of course. And so the next thing up in our instruction manual is the Idrilan Riverblades. So we have the Pure Flood Seneschal in here, and we have the Crest Dancers that you can see on these pages. And then once you're done with the Crest Dancers, we have the Stream Runners there and there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pages available to us. So in terms of options as well, we do have some cool stuff going on. So the Pure Flood Seneschal with Idrilan Warglaive, or with Ithara Darts, which is, I mean, they both look pretty cool, but we're going to go with the glaive because the glaive is sick. But we also have Master's Blades over here, which is really nice, but again, glaive, because glaive is cool. We then have Crest Dancer with Roped Sickle, Crest Dancer with Twin Spear. I'm always into that. Then we have no options on the other 3. So there's options for 2 of them, but not on the other 3. We then have the Stream Runners. So the first one up here, we have the Crest Blades and the River Steel weapons, or well, I should say all River Steel weapons. And then we once again don't have any options for the next 4, so that's pretty cool. It's a pretty nice set of different options, and also quite guided stuff. So in order to build these, we will require the 28mm bases and the 32mm bases that we have remaining to us. So for the Crest Runners, I believe we will require 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 for them, and then for the other ones, the River Blades, are they called River Blades? Crest Dancers, they're all River Blades. We have the 32mm, yeah, so we have 5 32mm bases left and 5 28mm bases. That makes sense to me. Again, it just feels like that's 2 completely different units as we go forward into AOS 4. So you might see boxes of doubling up coming for them. I don't know. We shall find out. We also might not see that, because it feels like a proper Warcry warband, to be fair. Now, in order to build them, we are once again going to have to require this one sprue just here. So we're just going to pop that one in half once again so we can look at it half by half. Now this is a lot more of a kind of congested sprue. There's a lot more different components going on here, but what you can see is you can see fairly intact bodies, which firstly is very cool. We do have some like kind of spare scenery. For example, I think this is half of this one, and we don't have anything that we can see on this bit just here. But as far as I can tell, according to this sprue, we're not going to be gluing feet onto small rocks to then glue it to the base, which is very, very nice, because you know that can be a little bit tricky and can get a little bit kind of messy at times. So as for the components, well, these are a little bit more familiar than the Night Haunt, and this is where we can kind of come up with our usual criticisms and things that we spot. So firstly, right over here, no, we have the blades that have got connection points on the actual cutting parts of the twin spear, which I'm guessing is what that is. So that's a big no, we don't like to see that. So again, be very careful over here. Same on this one just here. We have the big halberdy type thing here, which obviously we're going to go for, where the connection point is actually on the flat of the blade, on the non-cutting edge, which is really good. And then we have non-cutting edge here as well, which is okay, but then we have it right here on the cutting edge, right by the kind of the hilt of the weapon. That's going to be an absolute pain to try and get done. So again, just here, this one's going to be slightly more tricky because it's not quite on the cutting edge, but it is on the cross guard, so that's quite fiddly to do. Same here for the side, just here again on the corner, and here on the handle of this blade just there. So the weapons aren't doing so well, not doing so hot. We have a really kind of spindly attachment just there on this kind of this bit of hanging kind of cable tie is usually what we refer to those things around here. And then as for like the kind of bodies, we have the connection points in the kind of leather and stuff. So again, they're just not very well laid out here, unfortunately. And they're very dynamic models, so there's going to be lots of kind of curved edges where these connection points are. For example, around here on the leg. So you just have to be very careful as you're smoothing these things down, going with the curvature of the components. But yeah, unfortunately, this sprue is not looking in good condition. I mean, all the components look absolutely wonderful, but this is going to be significantly more fiddly than the Night Haunt, which I can't believe I'm saying because it's Night Haunt, but this is looking a lot more fiddly. We have things like these, again, we talked about it in the Night Haunt bit. We have these bits of rope which are not looking very, very sturdy, so you are going to have to be very careful in your order of operations of clipping them out. You might want to start here rather than here, and then go here, and then finally clip out there, because you don't want to put any pressure on that rope. Same here for the braid on the whatever it was called. Again, I've already forgotten. I'm an A+ content creator, me, honestly. There are some positives, of course. We do have connection points on the underside of the rocks, as generally as a rule. So here, here, and here, which is good. It means we don't have to kind of worry about missing a piece of kind of sprue connector when we're smoothing these down. So that's really good. Just means that it's very nice and easy to kind of just kind of run your knife across that. So you get a nice flat glue point with the actual bases when you come to assemble these. Let's hope that the other sprue is better than this one. Or is it going to be the same? Oh no. So we have more of these kind of twin speary things where we have the connection points right there on the cutting edges of the blades, which is disappointing. These knives are a little bit better because it's only just there on the handle rather than on the cutting edges of the blade, so that's better. However, again, we do have spindly connection points right there, as you can see on the kind of on the little bits of cable tie. And again, the bodies and such, we have the connection points in the leather and on the muscles, so just be very careful as you're going around these, because you don't want to kind of gouge out and flatten off the muscles. Again, just go with the curvature of the component. We have got another annoying connection point right there on the cutting edge, right by the base of the gladius dagger type thing, which is just going to be really very tricky. You have to take serious care and time over that. But we have more of the bodies here, and they're looking pretty good. There's loads of detail on there, and they look fantastic. There's just something about these that, I mean, they really flow like water, you know, and that's kind of what you want them to do. And this component right here is pretty cool, but again, connection points right there in the cutting edges. So yeah, and it's a really cool looking sprue, and there's loads of excellent detail here, and the components look fantastic. However, I anticipate much cutting and smoothing in the future, so well, we'll have to see how long it takes. If it takes longer than the Night Haunt, then you know that it was definitely more fiddly than the Pyregeist, and that's saying something. But when you're looking at it on its first impressions, it does look like it's going to be a little bit more complicated to do. So And that's very interesting that the Lumineth are able to achieve that in a box with Night Haunt. Anyway, we'll be back in just a second with the time lapse. With our Lumineth all built, the last place to look is the Idol of the Old Ones. And it comes on 1, 2, 3 pages. It's really not that big. Well, I mean, it looks pretty big, but like it's not that complicated. There's 16, I think, components. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Maybe it is only 15. Could probably find it on here. It goes up to 14. 15, 16 components. I was right in the first place. So yeah, it's just this one single sprue, and we've got loads of really cool components here. Big chunky components, as you can see. As you would expect from quite a large terrain piece. I'm very excited for this one because I think it looks fantastic, and it should balance quite nicely with some of the other terrain that's coming out, and just kind of add a little bit of extra, you know, cool stuff to the tabletop. AOS terrain really just every so often they come out with a piece that's like this, and it's fantastic. Combine this with a Realm Shaper engine and a couple of other things, and you've already got a really nice kind of like, you know, like the one from Nightmare Quest. That's where this one really sits. Just got a really nice looking table. Anyway, it's terrain, so there's not really a whole lot you can do about it when it's on the sprue, because you know it's all gonna kind of be in a 2D plane, as this one is, as you can see. So all of the components are nice and flat. You shouldn't have too much in the way of large mold line large mold lines in places you don't really want them, but you will have it along the seams of kind of thick bits of plastic. So this one in the middle here, you can probably just about see it just there. There is a pretty chunky mold line just there, but each component should be lying flat on the sprue anyway. So it's pretty easy to clean these sorts of things down. Give them a good clip. Nice close clip as well. When you're using your clippers, you can get right up against those edges because you don't have to worry too much about gouging either, because it's all kind of stonework and stuff like that. So having a little bit of extra weathering to it isn't necessarily the end of the world. So yeah, 16 components. It makes a really cool piece. Look at how fantastic this component is right here. It's just wonderful. I like it a lot. This one's really cool as well. So yeah, we're going to jump in and we're going to build this one, and we're going to see how long it takes, and then we're going to move on to the nightmares, or just nightmare is what it's actually called. So as you can see, the contents of Pyre Flood are now built, and well, the Idol of the Old Ones is sort of medium-sized terrain piece. The last time we did one of these was the Hunter and Hunted box with the Wilder Core and the Gorger Moor Pack and the Moor Pit, I think is what it's called. The Moor Pit was very, very large piece of terrain, but it had its issues going together, whereas this one goes together really nicely. I think it looks really cool. It's got quite a lot of presence to it. It's very characterful and it looks awesome. I kind of just wish we had the rest of the statue, you know. But, you know, it's about as big as my hand. So it's a nice looking terrain piece. And like I said, when you fit it with things like the Realm Shaper engine and stuff like that, it'll be a really cool set of terrain. So there we go, Pyre Flood all built. So now it's time to move to the 41st millennium and take a look at Nightmare. But before we do that, I have to move all of this stuff because space is a premium and I don't have any room on my desk for all of it. So here we go then, the chunky Nightmare box. Seriously, it's like double the thickness of Pyre Flood. What do we get inside the box? Well, we get the Nemesis Claw, the Night Lords, and we get Mandrakes. They don't get a fancy name. We also get the Nightmare Generatorum Hub. That's our piece of terrain that's in here. So different to the previous set from Kill Team, we've actually got a big chunky piece of terrain rather than, as I say, the last one had lots of kind of smaller scatter terrain, which is nice, but we like the big chunky terrain around here. So let's get this box open. We also do include Kill Team Nightmare book, the transfer sheets. That's good for Chaos Space Marines. And the following accessories both included Kill Teams. A complete set of data cards, token sheets plus token reference cards, TAC Op, ability, ploy and equipment cards. You get the Nightmare Generatorum Hub terrain set. So there's no, I don't think there's any boards in here, as there weren't in Warcry, Pyre Flood. So let's get this one open. This has to be a tray as well, but like a deep tray. Must be. Yes, it's a tray. Hang on a minute. I just gotta flip this bad boy over. I'm really curious as to why it is such a thick box. It must be that Generatorum Hub, right? Oh yeah. Oh good lord. My goodness me. Look at that. That is a single piece. That is a single piece of terrain right there. I mean, you could just use that as it is. But then, of course, you have the rest of the sprue there as well. I mean, that's not attached to a sprue. That's just ready to go. That's just printed straight away. That's incredibly impressive. You don't have to clip that out at all. I love that. Oh, I love that. That's incredible. That's so good. Well, there you go. One gigantic piece of plastic right there. Component 1. It's going to be hard to miss that one, isn't it? We have our next sprue here. This is also for the Generatorum Hub. I'm guessing this is the bits that go around the outside. So... Oh man, I'm a bit giddy now. We have a large bag of bases, probably 32s and 28mm bases by the looks of things. And then inside here we have a lot of sprues. This is where we're going to be seeing some interesting things. So the mandrakes, that's a mandrake sprue right there. And then we have another mandrake sprue right there. Interesting. Oh, and we have another one there. And another one there. So it looks to me like it's going to be a duplication effort. Yeah. So these two sprues are exactly the same. And these two sprues are exactly the same. So it's 2 lots of 5, which is cool. And here we have our Chaos Space Marines ones. So I'm interested to see how Night Lordsy these are. Because, you know, what are we getting for our buck? So that to me looks like the standard Chaos Space Marine weapon loadout, stuff like that with the helmet and things. That looks fairly normal to me. And then we have our, I'm guessing this is the other side of that sprue, because I don't think I've actually built a Chaos Space Marines multi-part kit since it got relaunched. Yep, that looks fairly standard to me, which means that this one here is the Night Lords components by the looks of things. I mean, all of this stuff is very Night Lordsy. Got a bunch of different shoulder pads and stuff. Skin cloak. Fancy banner with a corpse. Fancy weapons. Chain glaives. Yeah, so I think that's the Night Lordsy element of it. That's what you're getting for your Night Lords upgrade sprue by the looks of things. And then down here we have, ooh, this is another folio, like with the Kroot hunting pack. We get our transfer sheet there. That's the standard Chaos Space Marine transfer sheet. So we'll just pop the thick tray out the way. Hurl it across the room. So this is cool. I like this. Please keep doing this type of thing. It's just a little card folder which has everything in it with a really cool piece of artwork right there. That's awesome. Love to see that. That's nice, but that's really cool. And here we have all of our cards. They appear to be loose. So saving on plastic, which is good, although they could do with being organized in decks like this one. So you got that there, like that. Is this one just slipped? No, it hasn't. So these cards are loose. What about these ones? Ah, these ones are in a deck. There we go. So there's your Mandrakes and your Night Lords cards. Just checking to see if we're missing a slip. I think we are. Yeah, just a paper thing that would go around these ones, but they don't have like a deck thing. We have our instruction manual, which we're going to require, of course, and we have all of our tokens, lots and lots of tokens, one for each. They're really cool tokens, actually. I like those. And then we have Kill Team Nightmare, the book. Here it is. So, again, I'm guessing that we don't have the full core rules, because this is an expansion set, more or less. Yeah. Lots of cool stuff in here. That is a really nice little bit of artwork just there. That's a really nice little bit of artwork. I love this. I'd read that comic any day of the week. There we go. Some lovely pictures of the models. These are sick. These are lovely. Look, more of that. This is really nice. Even just from a kind of stylistic point of view, that's a very nice book. I mean, I'm not reading it, obviously, because we're flipping through things, but it's just stylistically, I feel like I'm really in the Kill Team zone, the kill zone, if it were. Like, I feel like this is very distinct from 40k in many ways. It feels like it is its own game. The Warcry stuff generally tends to feel like it's very kind of tied into Age of Sigmar, and that's nice because I like the vibe of it and the design and all that kind of thing. But just there's elements of this that make me feel, wow, this is really cool, you know? Oh, this feels like a nice experience right here. I love this. That's a really cool little book. Yeah, lots of lovely stuff. So, well, we'll have a quick look inside the instruction manual, shall we? It feels weighty. There's quite a lot going on here. There's a Generatorum hub right at the back. Look at it. That'll be a really simple build. God, this really is quite a weighty. Yeah, because the Night Lords stuff is going to be the Chaos Space Marines plus where you can put the Night Lords bits. Yep, 32mm and 28mm bases. I was correct. Yeah, so there's your Chaos Space Marines with the 3 sprues as we suggested, and then your Night Lordsy bit was the B. So yeah, there you go. These are all the interchangeable parts, as you can see. So all of the A's and all of the B's. So the B's are all the Night Lords versions, and the A's are your normal Chaos ones, and the B's are all of your Night Lords shoulders, and then your A's are your other ones that you can have from basic Chaos Space Marine stuff. And then obviously the blue is telling you Night Lord Visionary, Night Lord Warrior, Night Lord Visionary, Night Lord Warrior, how you can put things together as Night Lord. So it's, like I said, it is going to be thicker because it's going to include a lot of kind of the Night Lords options in here, which is a really nice support mechanism for them. I really like that. Rather than just kind of going, here's a sprue and kind of deal with it. It does kind of lend itself to really making them all Night Lords, which is great. And then the Mandrakes are probably the shorter part. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 and a bit pages. That makes sense. So, yeah, there we go. Lots of really cool stuff in this box so far. I'm very impressed. I I feel pretty good. I feel pretty good reading this one. I don't know why I'm packing this away. We need that one. We don't need the rest of it. So all this can go back in that lovely folio, which is a really nice thing that Games Workshop has started doing, and I very much appreciate it. Like I said, we had it in the Croup Hunting pack, and we've had it in this box. I don't know if they've done it before. They might have done it in Salvation, or whatever the previous Kill Team box was before this one, but I don't know. So don't get mad at me. But yeah, I like it. I like it. So we'll be back in just a second, and we'll be kicking things off with the Night Lords, because they were first in that box in the book, and we're going to do the same thing as we did with the Warcry box, in that we're going to go through an instruction manual in the order as presented to us. Okay, so I am quite excited to build the Generatorum hub, but we must wait. As mentioned, we're going to start with the Night Lords. Now, the same things that were present in the Warcry Pyre Flood book are present here, except it's laid out in a different way. For example, this page was here and this page was here before in Warcry, whereas in this one it's the other way around. But the same things are present. We have our base, use correct bases, we have our base diagram here, we have the explanation of the variants, and we have the explanation of symbols. We're also including a few more ones here of use matching parts, do not glue the components, and to build the number required up to the limit shown, and ×2 build this many. So duplicates basically that are in here, and I suspect that's for the mandrakes. Then we have our split of the sprues just over here, as well as the inclusion of, as mentioned before, 10 28mm bases and 10 32mm bases. 40k basing, I know it quite well. So we've already briefly touched on this, and well, I don't know how in depth we're going to go on the Chaos Space Marine sprue, because it is an older sprue. However, we are mostly focusing on the Night Lord sprue here, so that's where we'll give our full attention for the sprue review, but we will look at the Chaos Space Marines ones as well, just in passing, because it's interesting for me, and maybe it's interesting for you if it's the first time you've looked at them as well. So, as mentioned, there's a ton of interchangeable parts here, but we build each of our Night Lords in different ways, right? So the first one, our Visionary, or Sergeant, as he's commonly known, at least in my mind, or Aspiring Champion, or whatever it is for Chaos Space Marines, we have the options here to build this single miniature. So you can see it based on the color-coded tracks. We have blue, pink, green, and green. So here's the blue version, here's the green version, and this will build, so this one will get you your Night Lord Visionary, and this one will get you your green Night Lord Warrior. This one will give you your pink Night Lord Warrior, and this one will give you something else entirely. It's a little bit unclear, this, actually, because you build this section first, so that's grey, and then you add the bits that you want to. So this will bring you up to this, whereas to pink it, you'd skip over to here by the looks of things. Or maybe there's two in the box. What have we got? That's a little unclear to me. Because you'll build at least one sergeant and one normal guy if you're going to build a unit of 10. Maybe you can build 2 units of 5. We shall find out. I think the sprue only gives you enough to do 1 Visionary with a cloak, I would guess. Yeah, just the 1 cloak, so probably building a unit of 10 here, especially if it's for Kill Team. Anyway, moving on. We have more of our Night Lords Warriors over here. So here are 3 of the variants that you'll get from following these stages. Similarly here, you get 3 of the variants that you'll follow from those stages. So that would be, at this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, and then 6, and then 7, 8, so this bit, 9, and 10. So yeah, it must be there's two of these. Yeah, there it is. You can see it right there. Figured it out. Got there in the end. Makes sense to me, I think. Just about. We'll find out. So, yeah. It's a little... Like I said, that's a little bit bewildering at first. But we should be okay. We should be okay. We should be alright. So let's have a quick look at those sprues, shall we? So to build our Night Lords, we're going to use the 32mm bases. We have this sprue here, first and foremost, and this is a Chaos Space Marine sprue. It's a Space Marine sprue. So it's going to have its plus sides and it's going to have its usual downsides. We have all of our connection points, for example, on the torsos, in the arms, the kind of flat arm sides, which is really good. We like to see that. And these heads, not that we'll be using them because we're going to be going for the Night Lords, they're connected at the neck. That's really cool. We have a couple of them just in here on the horns, for example, but you know, sometimes you can't avoid it, except we haven't avoided it twice there, so you know, that's one thing to mark down on the Chaos Space Marines. 3 times over here, and we have a connection point right there in amongst the hair plume there, the top knot, so we don't like to see that. But then again, we're connected at the necks just there. The weapons here on this sprue connected at the barrel on the end, and then all on the elbow as well, which is a little bit annoying because you want that to be a nice smooth surface, but it's a nice open area, so it's not too hard to get in there. But again, just be careful that you don't flatten it off when you're scraping it down with a knife or mold line remover. Otherwise, pretty good. They've got a couple of connection points on the top of it, and those are kind of those obvious areas on the bolt gun here, here, and here, for example. Same here on the pistol, and there, and there. This one will be the harder one because these ones are on the kind of top, like the back sights back there, but this one here is right in the middle on that kind of rail of the top of a bolt gun. So just be careful with that one if you're going to use that one. But otherwise, they seem to be pretty good. So this is an okay sprue. Nice. I don't think I've ever looked at that before. We have our Night Lord sprue, but we'll do that one at the end because that's the one we want to focus on. Here is our double-sized sprue, so this is where we're going to find most of our bodies, and this is where we'll run into those usual feedback that we have for Space Marines. So we are connected on the underside of the feet here, 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 and so on and so forth. That's great, but then you have the connection points on the kind of hips here, these kind of smooth areas of the armor. I don't know why to this day we still don't have connection point foot, and then one right there on the torso of the flat where you're going to then put the body on top. But you know, there must be a reason as to why they can't do that all of the time. These ones are okay because we have the connection points on the bottom of the foot and then there again in the armpits. That's great because they go together nice and easily. This one we have a connection point right there on the gorget, on the back of the gorget. So just be watchful for that. Our shoulder pads along here, they're all connected on the underside, which is cool because they're not like kind of on the top here, so it means you don't end up kind of gouging off the top of the rounded shoulder pad. That's really nice. You just end up having to clip at the bottom, and then you can just smooth that off nice and easily. So that's really cool. It's a cool sprue. It's nice, this one. Again, lots of detail packed into this one, and so far they're laid out pretty well. You know, I think that's all of the shoulder pads and stuff, and it must be all of the bodies as well. I know there's some of the bodies over there on that sprue that we've already looked at, the kind of fronts of the torsos. These are mostly the backs of the torsos and legs. And then here we have all of the arms and backpacks. It's actually a quite cleverly laid out kit. It means you kind of know where you're going for each of the areas, which I really like. That's a quite ergonomic kit with which to build. So you can kind of like lay them out in an area and just kind of build the bodies, build the arms, build the legs, and so on and so forth. If you would kind of a production line assembly these, that's cool. I like that. That's a nice vibe. Now, of course, we come to our main event, which is, of course, the Night Lord's sprue. Here it is. We won't snap this one in half because we don't really need to. Now, we've already had a quick glance at it. And some of the feedback actually remains the same for this one as it does for the Chaos Space Marines. These shoulder pads, for example, they are all connected on the underside apart from these two. And these two are probably the ones you don't want to have it on the outsides there like that, but they do regardless. So these are the bits with the kind of skin that's just been mounted on the shoulders. So left and right, there and there. These are going to be slightly tricky to cut out because we've got the kind of the lip of the trim of the shoulder right there. So again, just like with the Warcry set, I would recommend cutting it just a little bit further back, just there, so you can come at it from a slightly easier angle to get that off. Same over here, in fact, and there and there. The heads seem to mostly be connected at the neck. I don't see any bits where it's connected between the back wings, which is fantastic. We've got a little hook here. We've got the skin cloak there, which is all connected around the outside by the looks of things. No, this one is just overlapping the actual outward facing area. It's not just kind of on the flat edge of the cloak, so watch out for that bit there. We have another Night Lord specific arm. Got Batman claws, not Batman claws, Wolverine claws, goodness me. It's nice, I like it. This is a really cool chainsword, and this is an even cooler chainsword. There's lots going on here. There's lots to like. Really nice torso front, just there, with again lots and lots of skin. Lots of Night Lord's trophies. And the heads are pretty cool. Even the bare-headed one just here. We've got a hooded option. We've got another bare-headed one. No, that is a helmeted one. Looks like a bear head though, but it's not. Yeah, this is a really, really cool sprue. It's nice. It reminds me of the Deathwing Dark Angels upgrade sprue. I think there's a little less going on here. You could do with maybe one or two more of these lovely glaives, the chain glaives, because they are so iconic to the Night Lords. But I kind of get why there aren't too many here, because otherwise it would be, well, it'd be hard to find a use for all those chain glaives. No, it wouldn't. The chain glaives in a Night Lord's army. It's never hard to find a use for them. But it's a really nice sprue, I will just say that. I really like the claws as well. I think they look sick. So, we're going to jump in and we're going to build some Chaos Space Marines as Night Lords. And we will film one in the time-lapsey thing, see how long it takes us, and then we will build the rest of the unit. And then we'll be back in just a moment. So our Nemesis Claw, I think they're called, Night Lords kill team, is now fully built, and it looks absolutely incredible. They're fantastic, fantastic models. I'm a big fan of these. I think they look great. The kit goes together really nicely with the upgrade sprue. There's enough parts there that it would be kind of usable across different Night Lords kits, and all of the shoulders, for example, are they're not like kind of keyed to a specific arm, for example, so they work really well across if you wanted to use the upgrade sprue, for example, to I said for example quite a lot. If you wanted to use the shoulders on, say, some Havocs or something like that, it absolutely can work that way. So it's really nice, really nice upgrade sprue. The thing that was fun about building these was very reminiscent of building an old Space Marine kit, just before, you know, like the Primarisification of things. They're really nice. I have not built Chaos Space Marines, so that was really fun. Anyway, now that the Chaos Space Marines are built in the form of the Night Lords, I mean, look at this. Isn't that cool? It's just great. And that one. And this one I think is my favourite. Great stuff. Anyway, now that they're all built, it's time to move on to the next part of the box, which is the mandrakes. Now here they are. Now they come across 1, 2, and 3 and a bit pages, and they don't look to be in too many components, to be honest, but some of these things are worrying me. For example, this one just here, in that it's like 2 halves of a body, So I'm worried that there's going to be lots of seams on these guys, but maybe it'll be all right because it's, you know, patchwork skin clothes, for example. So who knows? We'll find out as and when we build them. But across 3 pages, and because it's a duplicate sprue, or there's 2 of each sprue, it's going to be a case of you build 5 and then you build 5 of the alternate. So you see you got the green path and the blue path for each of these. So yeah, the chooser of the flesh. Mandrake Night Fiend, the Mandrake Shadow Weaver. Lots of options here. Abyssal Mandragore, Mandrake Dirgemaw. There's a lot going on there. You can see it just down here in the painted things. Lots and lots of different looking mandrakes. So, really cool little set of instructions. Now let's check out the sprues. In order to build them, we will of course require our 28mm bases. Here they are. I don't think we had anything that goes on a 32. 28 and 28, 28, 28. You know, just looking at these bits here, yeah, it looks like it's all 28mm. So of course, as mentioned, we need all these 28mm bases, and we will require these 4 sprues, or rather 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sprues, because these are little half-sized sprue jobbies. So we'll snap this one in half, and take one of these, and then we'll put these 3 to one side because, as mentioned, they are all identical. So let's start with the first one that's closest to my hand, this guy right here. So, looking at it first and foremost, yeah, I think there's pretty cool stuff going on here. So the blades and stuff were all kind of connected to the sprue on the back part, on the sort of the non-cutting edge of the blades on this sprue, which is really good to see. We don't have any on the kind of these bits or on the inside of the kind of tops of the weapons. That's nice. We have a couple of heads here, and they're all, by the looks of things, attached at the hair, which is a little bit disappointing. And then the bodies here, for example, we've got a congested sprue cut point there, so you're going to want to cut this one closer to this area and then get at this from a different angle, because you don't want to end up kind of cutting out the kind of, what would that be, part of the shoulder or the chest or something. So just watch out for things like that. And yeah, we do have entire pieces, for example, where the seam is there, and that's then going to marry up with that bit there, so you might run into lots of kind of potential gaps in the building of things like this, where it's 2 halves of the body. It's cool because there's less components with which to deal with, but then you do have to just make sure you use a fair amount of glue to not have that kind of big gap there. It usually should be fine, but you know, if you need to have some green stuff on standby, is what I would recommend. We have like connection points in and amongst the flames and on the skin of the arms and stuff. So that's just one thing to watch out for, again, because they're rounded components. You want to make sure that you kind of go with the curvature of the component rather than kind of flattening any of those things off, because these guys are a lot of their detail is very kind of, it looks quite fiddly, but it also looks quite open, so like you can see a lot of these kinds of like the arms and stuff, so you will just want to be really careful around that, especially like, for example, that one, we've already talked about it, but just in there, that is a place to really bear in mind. Same for any flames, and like we've talked about so far in this video, just look at the components in this kind of 2D plane like that, just to make sure you're getting all of the flash off and stuff like that. But yeah, that's an okay sprue. Let's look at the next one, this one just here. So similar deal. The weapons are connected on the non-cutting edges, which is fantastic. We have another head here connected right in the top of the hair. So these are the kinds of things we don't like to see, because it's really obvious when you kind of miss those bits, or you kind of gouge them or take too much off with the knife. So just be really careful around those hairlines here, and here. Yeah, it's just, you can't avoid it. The bodies are the same again. You have quite congested areas right in here amongst hair and muscles, so just watch out around there, because again, just cut it back here so you can get at it from a different angle, because you don't want to take too much off in the wrong place. This one we've actually then got an additional connection point in the hair, just there on the body, so that's a vibe. That will probably line up with a head, so that'll be one of those ones where sometimes you might miss just a teeny tiny little bit of the of the sprue gate, for example, and then end up wondering why the head won't press together properly. Just be really careful and come at it from this angle as well as from that angle, for example. I'm pleased to see that so far the scythes that we've had, this one and this one up here, we haven't got any connection points on the blades there. That's really, really good, because curved blades are even more difficult to not take too much off, because it becomes really obvious if you even it a tiny little bit with the knife. Anyway, third and final sprue here. Here we have the shady cloak thing, which is quite a large detail. It doesn't actually look that textured either, which is interesting. It's got quite subtle little plastic. It's probably showing up more on the camera than it is actually in real life, which is interesting looking at it in my monitor. But it's not, you can feel the texture within it, so you can feel the spines, for example, so you can see it a little bit better on that side. It's subtle, but contrast should actually pick that out quite nicely, which is interesting. Again, we've got another scythe here, although this one does have quite a thick mould line around that inside edge, which we've already just managed to just smooth off. There we go. So watch out for things like that, because you don't want to I don't want a scythe that looks more like a sort of LARP weapon. We have more of the blades here and here, which are connected not on the cutting edge, but now we do actually have a cutting edge connection point just there. So close to perfection, but failing at the last moment. Bodies, again, similar feedback to the bodies we've already had, and the heads are the same. We have a connection point right there in the middle of the hair. This one is going to be quite a congested area again, so just cut it back here so you can come at it from a different angle, because that one will be quite difficult to get in there without taking off this little section just here, particularly if you don't have really small nippers. So yeah, there we go. It's a nice little set of sprues, and well, we're going to jump in and we're going to start building them. We're going to see how long a mandrake takes, and yeah, we'll be back in just a sec. So our mandrakes are now all built, all 10 of them. They're pretty cool little models, these ones. They went together surprisingly well. There's a couple of kind of like annoying little mold lines here and there, but generally they were pretty fun. We did this one, of course. We did all the specialists. But yeah, they're a nice little kit. A much needed update, of course, to a very old Dark Eldar or Drukhari kit, but we simply must move on because we have our final miniature, or rather bigature, to build, which is the Generatorum hub. There it is. Check out that bad boy. So I've already gotten very excited in this video about the single piece, and as you can see, it's a very simple construction. 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 pieces. So I mean terrain so far, I think, across both the Warcry and the Nightmare, we haven't built this yet, but it's really cool. They're really nice little pieces. So in order to build our Generatorum hub, we will require two things. One, the largest piece of plastic I've ever seen in my life, and from Games Workshop at least, and this sprue of extra components just here. So I mean, there's not really a ton to say here about the terrain sprues. This one There are no mold lines on it as far as I can see. It wasn't attached to a sprue, so that's fantastic. I mean, there's this cutaway here, which I'm guessing might be where it was injected or something. It seems quite small, but it is what it is. You see that where it's just kind of snapped off of something. Anyway, is what it is. I think that's intentional as well. That's not I'm missing something or anything like that. But we have our single piece plastic just there, which is in really good shape as well, given as it's not even attached to a sprue or anything like that. And then we have this one as well. So yeah, just a couple of pieces, large pieces of course. So this is where we might run into some issues because they are quite long, so they can be prone to warping, just like in an imperceptible way. So when you're then building it, you have to use kind of a little bit more glue than you perhaps maybe initially intended to in order to put it together, because it will require a little bit of extra holding in some places, but I'm hoping that's not the case for this one. It can be the case with some large pieces, but this should be fine. So all of the connection points should be around the outside of stuff that is in a 2D plane. As far as I can tell as well, the mold lines are basically non-existent on this one, which is a plus sign above the idle of the old ones. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this piece. So I'm going to jump in and start painting it. Really quick little sprue review of that bit, but you know, there's not really much to say there other than it looks cool. This piece of plastic is incredible. I'm really glad that they've done it this way as well, that you don't have to kind of build this whole section in 4 or 5 different pieces and all the turbines are different and you have to glue all this kind of thing in, because I was anticipating like 2 or 3 sprues for this, but no, just one sprue and a very large piece of plastic is incredible. So we'll be right back in just a second with our time lapse. So there you have it. Both contents of the box fully built. And I think overall, I'm really impressed. As some of you may know, I dislike building. I dislike building intensely. So to build 20, 30, 40, no, 10, 20, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 40 models in such a short space of time is kind of like my idea of hell. However, I found myself going on a journey as I built all of these models. I obviously started with the instruction manuals, as you saw in the places that they went, and I was surprised at almost every turn. So kicking things off with Pyre Flood, what do we think about it? Well, the Nighthaunt stuff really surprised me. I thought that was going to be a fiddly build job, but it wasn't. It was actually very pleasurable, and that's strange because normally Nighthaunt can be either an absolute pain to build or they just won't go together at all. It's like they're almost allergic to glue. And for these to be as simple and effective as they were genuinely was a real surprise to me, and it was a joy to put them together. As for the Hydralan, they were interesting. There were some components that were a bit strange to put together, but once you finally kind of started to see how they were going together, they started to make sense. So they were actually more fiddly than the Nighthaunt were, which was really surprising. I've already covered this, but alongside Nighthaunt of all things, for them to be the fiddly part, genuinely impressive. But there's something about these models. They really do flow like water. There's just really cool stuff about them. I mean, look at that one. That's cool. They're all just kind of they're very, very dynamic, first and foremost. They're very open as well, and they don't feel that way as you're building them, but once you're starting to put them together and you get them sort of a couple of them finished, they actually are just very, very kind of, there's lots of space there. So they look like they're going to be a lot of fun to paint as well, which is really, really cool. Finally, the idol of the old ones, again, went together like a dream. And in comparison to the Moor Pit, which was the previous Warcry, complete night and day in terms of building them. The Idol of the Old Ones just was a really, really good experience to put together, and it looks fantastic, and it's not so big that it'll be a real challenge to paint. That's one thing I'm very pleased about, especially when it comes to doing a contrast plus recipe on something like this. It means that if you want to add more to the depth of your paint job for it, you can, because it's not so big that it feels like it's just terrain, who cares. But like at the same time, it's small enough that you could get it done really quickly because it's just terrain, who cares, that type of thing. So there's a lot to like here about this piece. And, well, it's just very characterful, isn't it? And it's very, very cool. And as I've already mentioned, it'll fit really nicely with things like the Realm Shaper engine, or indeed any of the Warcry terrain that we've had from the Heartwoods of Gur, or whatever it's been called this current season. Things like Nightmare Quest, that stuff will go really, really nicely with this. And that kind of justifies the way that they're doing these formats of the Warcry and Kill Team boxes, in that I feel like it does slot together, which is really cool. And it does mean that you're not just being inundated with lots of kind of the same old things when it comes to the terrain. I think 40k stuff in general can get a little bit repetitive, because it's going for a Mechanicum sector. You get the Sector Mechanicus stuff, and by this point that terrain feels like I've seen it enough. But on the 40k terrain, let's head over to Nightmare and talk about the Generatorum hub, and then consequently the models, of course, as well. And for a piece of this size, for it to go together in about 20 minutes, something like that, it's really, really impressive. And again, different to the previous version of this, where it was kind of more scattered terrain and smaller pieces, the Generatorum hub is very big. As you can see, it covers my face. Watch. Ah, that's better. So a piece of terrain like that is genuinely very, very impressive, and it's very sturdy, it's very cool, and it's an intact building. I really like intact buildings. So they have managed to add something new to this vibe of terrain in terms of the Sector Mechanicus style thing, which, again, like I've said before, feels like it's getting a little bit tired. Not that it's old and out of date, it's just that I've seen it so much. I've painted a bunch of it in the past, and I don't really want to do very much more. But this is a cool little piece, a really nice thing to put sort of just right in the middle of your table, and then kind of build up the height around it. Or if you want to have an alternate to hills and types of things, get a couple of these, because it's really cool. It's a really nice piece, and it went together really nicely, so that's good. And as for the miniatures, well, the Night Lords were almost quite a nostalgic build for me. Like I said, I haven't really built any of the Chaos Space Marines. It's been a long day, can you tell? I haven't really built any of the Chaos Space Marine kits, at least the Marine size ones, since Shadow Spear. I've done a lot of the cultists and things, but I haven't done things like the new Chaos Space Marine Legionaries or the Havocs or anything like that. So it was really nice to come back to these, and there was a certain kind of familiarity about building this type of kit. It's probably not quite accurate to say it, but it felt like I was building something like an old Blood Angels tactical squad. There was enough characterful stuff in there that it wasn't quite as simple as just gluing the arms and legs together, but at the same time, it was just gluing the arms and legs together, which is a simpler time. It's a little bit more complex than that for the Chaos Space Marines, of course, because the bodies come in a couple of different pieces, and they're a little bit more dynamic, and they're a hell of a lot bigger than they used to be. But they just felt very familiar to build, and for a veteran builder, albeit one who hates doing it, that was really comforting to do. The Night Lord's upgrade sprue is also very impressive. It's like the Deathwing one. I think I've already said this. The Dark Angels upgrade sprue was a really nice upgrade sprue. There wasn't too many kind of keyed details to specific kits, and they were just very customizable. I felt like you could very much implement this across a number of different kits, albeit having actually built things like Havocs or things like that. But part of me felt like this sprue really fits. So I wouldn't really worry too much. Of course, we'll find out when it comes to the actual release of the sprue on its own, or maybe when it comes out just as part of a Kill Team box on its own. But I'm not worried, really. I think it's a really, really cool thing. And Night Lords players, if it does well, maybe we'll see some more Night Lords. As for the Mandrakes, I thought they were going to be a lot worse than they were. Genuinely, looking at the sprues, I was like, it's a lot of connection points on muscles and smooth fabric and stuff like that, and actually smoothing this down might be a real pain in the ass, but it really wasn't. They were pretty good to do. The second to last thing that I did in this series of building stuff, and usually at that point I'm getting frustrated because my fingers hurt and I've stuck my thumb to too many things and I've cut myself several times, but I actually didn't really feel too worn out by building them. Which sounds like the lowest bar possible, but it is a compliment. Because the Space Marines take so much longer to build, if you start there and then do the Mandrakes, it could have felt like the Mandrakes were just going to be a bit of a slog to get through. But that's not how I felt as I was putting them together. And this is coming from me. I hate building. I don't know if I've mentioned it. So all in all, building all of these models across both boxes, just a really, really, really good time, if you like that kind of thing. There's also tons and tons of extra stuff left over, which, you know, for kit bashing into other things or having extra stuff for the rest of your armies if you're indeed plugging these in or hoping to build a new army out of one of them. That's really encouraging. Now, which was my favourite? Which did I think was the better box? Well, I was always inclined to say that Pyre Flood was going to be my favourite, because I think the miniatures are just that little bit more characterful and that little bit more interesting. But actually, when it came to the contents of the boxes and the book itself for Nightmare, I really, really liked that book. I can't explain why. It's just something about the art style and stuff that's been used in it. And maybe that's something that has been there that I just haven't noticed. But actually having a really good look at it, I just really enjoyed that. I also really liked the presence of that folio that was in there. That was very, very, very nice. So, ultimately, I think in this War of the Skirmishes, whilst I think the actual troops of the Warcry box are my favourite, and I think the Idol of the Old Ones is a slightly more fun terrain piece, I actually think Kill Team Nightmare might be the better box. Honestly, I just felt more immersed in Kill Team with the Kill Team Nightmare box than I did with the Pyre Flood. Maybe it's because I didn't give enough time to Pyre Flood when I was looking at the book, but it didn't immediately capture me as going, hey, we're definitely in the war cries, as it were. The Kill Team Nightmare, though, really did. I was like, I'm not in 10th edition 40k land here, and that got me excited, because that's the thing. I'm not particularly infused by 40k 10th edition at the moment, but I do love Warhammer 40,000. So if this is a way to engage, maybe this Kill Team thing ain't so bad after all. I'm just kidding. I know Kill Team's really cool. I know there's very, very popular and a lot of you really like it. I just haven't really had a chance to play it. That's my problem, and I guess my fault. It's what happens when you don't have any friends. So overall, as boxes, Land Raider scale time, where are we going? I think I would probably go somewhere in the region of 8 out of 10 for Kill Team Nightmare and 7.5 out of 10 for Warcry, Pyre Flood. I don't know why. Those just feel like those are accurate ratings for me. Yeah, I can't put my finger on it, but I don't really want to change that. So, yeah, I think Kill Team Nightmare, very good box. Pyre Flood, also very good box. Can't rate them the same though. That would be silly. Maybe they are just both an 8 out of 10. And then it just comes down to personal preference. Who knows? These things usually do come down to personal preference. So why are you listening to my ratings? Why do I even bother doing ratings? I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed this one. And please do comment below to let me know which ones you want to see first painted. I haven't started any of the painting yet. So get your comments in early. And then we'll hopefully get the next one done very, very quickly. See you all very soon for another sprue review, I'm sure. Thank you so much for watching. Happy wargaming! If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/Warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.